Another incredible conversation with Kevin. He had a whole bunch of notes that he was going to talk about all these conferences that he's been to and all this sort of stuff that we didn't even get to because we had other things to talk about. We had no agenda, really. I just said to him, let's get you back on the show and have another chat. I was just talking to him after I turned off the recording, as I do. And he told me something really fascinating. He said a friend of his is a doctor in Senegal, and his daughter, the friend's daughter, is also a doctor. And that he wrote to him, emailed him recently to say that in Senegal, they've been using that drug hydroxychloroquine. I don't want to say it. I don't know if it'll get me censored. And they've basically eradicated the problem without using the rollout of the allopathic solution that is being forced on us. So I found that really interesting. He said, I wonder if you could Google that information to get more information about that. And I said, no, it won't be on Google. It won't be there. But yeah, so I don't know, look up Senegal and see what's happening in Senegal. But that was direct information from Kevin's friend, who's a doctor who works there. So that was really interesting that Senegal, I've got all these images in my head of the Senegal people dancing. Oh my God. Wearing blue tunics, schoolgirls. Anyway, I shouldn't close my eyes. I get all these images when I close my eyes. So that's really fascinating. And Kevin also told me that before he was a police officer, because he was a police officer in England when he lived in England, he was working at the university, working in immunology and virology, and so he actually has quite a lot of information about what's happening in our world. And I'm like, I didn't know that about you either, Kevin. Anyway, it's amazing. I should never turn off the camera. We just keep talking. But he said that's where he met Sandy, his wife. They were both at university together. So he says he has a rudimentary, I think a bit more than a rudimentary understanding of pathogens and viruses and vaccines. He used to work testing vaccines and all that sort of thing. So that was really interesting. Didn't know that about Kevin. He's a wealth of information, but I'm going to get him to write this new book about the Council of Eight. I said, ask Dee to ask the council if they'd be up for giving more information. I'm sure they will. They've told me they will. Yeah, fascinating to hear more about who they are, how they live, and about how they heal, maybe how they evolved out of only looking at physical healing into looking at consciousness to heal. That's 300 books on itself, how to heal through consciousness and how to evolve out of looking down a microscope and looking more at the body as an energy system rather than a physical system of molecules and pathogens and cells, but looking at it as a physical energy system. I mean, as I was saying to Kevin, ancient medicine has been doing it for thousands of years, like homeopathy not thousands of years with homeopathy, but hundreds of years with homeopathy and acupuncture, thousands of years. And there are these ancient healing technologies that are mainstream and accepted, even, that you can go to your health insurance provider and you can get, money back if you have an acupuncture treatment or a massage treatment. So they're accepted as mainstream healing techniques, and yet they're not considered in how to heal what's currently going on. They're not considered at all. They've been pushed aside. Like, I'm an energy healer, so I use my consciousness to heal, and I've done that with myself many times. It doesn't mean that I'm completely healthy. I'm still dealing with problems in my body, like pain, because I don't exercise enough and I'm too fat. But and my guide said to me, just stop eating so much sugar and bread and get out there and exercise more, and you'll have less pain in your joints. And I'm like, fair enough. But I do. I've used my consciousness to heal cracked bones and to eradicate cancer and all sorts of things. So that's what I rely on. I don't go to doctors. I don't. My neighbour said to me, when's the last time you went to a doctor? I said, a few years ago, I had a really, really sharp pain in my body, and I thought, I better go and check out, see what's happening. Had all manner of CAT scans, blood tests, x-rays, and there was nothing wrong with me. Then I asked my guides about it. I was having a bit of a moment of doubt because, sometimes we doubt ourselves. I do this and then I think, maybe I'm wrong. So I had a moment of doubt, and they said, you just released a kidney stone. It does hurt. And I'm like, okay, okay, I shouldn't have doubted. But I went to the doctor probably about 10 or 15 years ago when I had bronchitis. I had a chest infection and it came back 3 times. And when the third time when it came back, it healed. I went through that sort of normal symptoms of coughing and mucus and blah, blah, blah. And then it came back a few weeks later, a couple of months later. And then I thought, I'll just go to the doctor and I'll get a script for some antibiotics and I'll just knock it on the head with some drugs. I hadn't taken drugs for years, but I thought, no, I'll go get some drugs. Again, a moment of doubt. But I went to the local doctor at the medical centre in the suburb near me at the time. And he said, why are you here? And I said, I've had this infection that just keeps coming back. I came for some antibiotics. And he said to me, a classic, he said to me, oh, you don't want antibiotics. Antibiotics are poison. And I looked at him like, what? A doctor said this to me? And I just said, yes, I know, right? And he just confirmed what I knew. I loved it from a medical doctor who's working at the local medical centre in our suburb. And he said, go home, rest, take some garlic and vitamin C and, hot lemon juices and honey and ginger, and you'll be fine. And that's exactly what I did. And I was fine. And it never came back. So in those moments of doubt, I do, sparsely, I don't do it. I don't take painkillers for headaches. If I have a headache, I think, okay, I need to stress and relax or get off the computer or go for a walk or get in the ocean. Yeah, I just cleanse my body with my consciousness, with my knowing. I ask for white light to cleanse my body. Oh my God, we're so powerful. When humanity wakes up to their power, it's going to be a different world when we understand how powerful our thoughts are. That's why I want to know about other planets where ETs do know, like Orton D and other Arcturians and Palladians, where they do understand the power of their consciousness. What does their world look like? Yeah, I want to know. What does it look like when we have a whole society who understands the power of their consciousness? What do you think? What do you imagine? Send me your thoughts. What do you think the world looks like when everyone awakens to the power of their consciousness and the power of their thoughts, and they stop focusing on what they don't want and start focusing on what they want to create? Imagine a world like that. Imagine a world where people across the planet, billions of us, understand the power of thought and the power of consciousness and how our thoughts create. We stop thinking about what's going wrong and we start thinking about what we want and what we can create. Amazing to think about, isn't it? Amazing to think about. Yeah, it's an amazing time we're in at the moment, and this chaos that we're seeing, especially in Australia, is about the destruction of the old way of thinking. It's ramping up, more fear, more control, but it is the destruction of an old way as we can envisage a new way of being. And I really believe our Star Nation family are really helping us at the moment. Yeah, I know that. So the disclosure is coming on thick and fast. I was going to say that to Kevin, actually, that all this disclosure on our mainstream TV, our main channel here, Channel 7, aired recently an hour-and-a-half documentary which had disclosure in it. Not full disclosure, but a lot of disclosure. Netflix has a series. Showtime's bringing out a series. All the mainstreaming platforms are bringing out these UFO disclosure series. They're not so much talking about the power of consciousness, but they're awakening the sleeping minds to the reality of life in the cosmos that is interacting with planet Earth, and how it has been, and all these documentaries showcase how it has been suppressed by our governments. All of them say that. So, on the documentary that was on our mainstream television, it's on YouTube, you can watch it. It's 7 News, I think, is the channel that's airing. It's called UFO something or other. I'll put the link in the description. Ross Coulter is the journalist that is speaking. He speaks to many people about how the cover-up has happened of how governments have known about UFOs forever, about not just UFOs, but ET interacting with Earth, and they've covered it up. But he also talks about the collective hypnosis, the collective conditioning, how we were conditioned to believe that if you think about aliens or UFOs, that you're crazy. And he speaks about that openly in this documentary, which amazed me, really, that it was on mainstream television. to talk about how, because he's a reporter, and how the media was a big part of hypnotizing and deluding humanity to think, if you think about aliens or ETs, you're crazy, you'll be carted off to a mental asylum. This was a rollout, a purposeful rollout, so that we didn't think about it. Amazing what's happening in our world. Just incredible, just incredible. Yeah, all right. It's been a long show, so I'm not going to talk too much more. I've got a lot to say. I'm going to do some separate videos about consciousness and raising our vibe and what ascension and expanding consciousness is all about, but I'll do those in another talk. Thanks for tuning in and listening and watching, and please remember to subscribe and share the shows with your friends, and send me your feedback and your comments. Why I ask people to subscribe and press the bell button and do the comments is that the more people that do that, the more YouTube actually shares the shows with other people, and so we can get the word out and spread the consciousness, spread the message, spread the love. Thanks again for listening and watching. Join our inner sanctum if you want to have these conversations on a weekly basis with myself and other people. Talk about how we create our reality, deliberate creation, and we go everywhere. We talk about everything in the inner sanctum. I'm on every week, and once a month I invite a guest teacher. And remember to check out the book Awakened by Death if you haven't already. Love you big time. Bye for now.